What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode here on the ChurchMag server. This episode is going to be a little bit different than the last episode. We're going to work on the interior of our build. And so interiors can be difficult. There's not really an exact right way to do it. So you're going to see me do a bunch of different things throughout the episode of trying to figure out exactly how to do it. You also might notice that the audio file for this video got corrupted. So this is actually editing me coming in, putting in some audio for what's going on. So first off, I'm going to start here in the living room of our base. Now, the first floor is going to be divided into kind of three different room sections. And so there's going to be the living room section, the kitchen, and then kind of this like tap/storage room section that'll be beside the living room we'll get to later. It's one of the last things we build. But this right here is our living room. And it actually took me a while to settle on how exactly I wanted to do the couches. This just happened to be the one that I landed on at the end. This kind of simple, elegant design for them. Using dark oak because I think it contrasts with the spruce enough, while also kind of still giving a good kind of vibe for it. And I went along this idea of using copper as kind of lamps throughout the build. So throughout the build, you'll see I'm using a lot of copper lanterns and things like that. This right here is actually my favorite part of the build, weirdly enough, and that is a carpet made out of green wool and moss and some yellow flowers, and I really like the way it looks. I decided to weather the lanterns just to give it kind of this like blue-green color that I think would look really, really nice. And then I added some curtains, and then I started working on the kitchen, which I'm super happy with how it ends up. It's kind of a super simple. You got a lot of classic blocks that you're going to use a lot. Things like barrels, beehives. You can see I'm trying to figure out how exactly I want to do the bar area, and eventually I land on using some spruce. And then I start using some of our custom blocks that we have here on this server. They're absolutely amazing. The person who kind of helps run the server, Red, he does a lot of these custom blocks himself, and they look fantastic. One of the greatest things I've learned while doing interiors is that you kind of just have to fiddle with them until you figure it out. It takes a while to kind of just figure out what exactly you want to do. And this right here is one of my favorite things that I figured out relatively recently, and that's how to make a really nice looking sink. So I'm going for kind of like a farmhouse sink kind of vibe for this area because I want it to look relatively full and useful, like an actual kitchen might. And so I'm using candles, a bucket of water, and mine carts to give this kind of look of a nice kitchen sink. And I really like the way that looks. You can, of course, add a tripwire thing for it, but I did not have a tripwire for it, and it also had glass there, so I couldn't really put that there, but if it had a solid block behind it, you could. And, of course, you can't really have a kitchen without an oven, and so that's kind of my next process of what I started working on here, kind of this oven design. That's you see a lot throughout the areas. It's not, like, made by me at all, but I got this idea of dyeing our pans a gray color so that they kind of look like, well, pans and stuff that might be used. And so they kind of match the actual vibe of the place a little bit better. And I really like the way this kitchen ended up looking. I go back through and get rid of that because it looked a little weird. I'm still not sold on using the dark oak there, but I think it's okay. Next up, I kind of decide that I need to do something around the door because it looks a little weird and barren. So I put in a lamp, and then I go through and start adding these carpets that we have, these custom carpets. I realized that I got to get rid of the trapdoors for that. And for some reason, our items sometimes will just spawn through things. But we end up with that right there, and I think it looks super nice. A little door for our keys and stuff, a little place where you can put it so we don't lose them. Which then brings us to our last kind of room for this floor. And that's kind of like a little storage room area, kind of like a kitchen area. I decided to open up the windows a little bit. You'll see I end up actually getting rid of 2 of these windows and just keeping one of them because it looks really weird from the outside with some of these windows. But this is kind of just going to be like a little storage area. You'll see I'll put like a few tables in here and a few things like that, just to kind of get the vibe of there being like an area where you could get things for the living room and kitchen and stuff like that. And so you can see I put some jars and things like that there, kind of just to make it feel like it's lived in a little bit. It's kind of the vibe I'm going for. Kind of like a live than clutter kind of feel that I think sometimes interiors in Minecraft can kind of miss out on a little bit. And now I've been rambling for a little while, so I'll kind of just let you watch me put together our top layer, which is our second floor, and kind of where our bedroom and our closet's going to be. So I will catch you guys in a little bit. You can begin to really see the vibe I'm trying to go for here in the bedroom. It's kind of this canopy vibe, kind of chill kind of look. It takes me a little bit to figure out how exactly I want to do the canopy bed, so it doesn't look too overcrowded and kind of weird. But eventually, I do land on a way to do it, and I do end up loving it. I did find out string does not work the way I thought it did, but kind of the vibe I was just going for this whole entire house is kind of this idea of like I am royalty, but like not in a way that's like I'm ruling over the people in a harsh or anything like that way. Because the way kind of I have Elarris working is that there is three like branches of the government, and I just happen to be the heir of the royal part of the government. And so like it's kind of my duty to take care of the country and to work with people to protect them and to work with other countries and stuff like that. And so there should be some aspects of royalty in my house, but I don't want it to look like I'm living in a ton of wealth, whereas the people around me aren't. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping somewhat kind of a chill kind of vibe to my house as well. And you can see I'm really excited about this part. These awesome shelves that Red recently added, or at least I just found them recently, are super helpful in kind of creating some clutter that can kind of fill up your space while looking really, really good at the same time. And so it kind of lets you put some things on the wall and give it kind of a vibe of kind of chill, kind of cool. And you can see I'm trying to figure out what exactly I want to put up there. And then, of course, I decide, got to do the stone diamond ore, one of the rarest things in Minecraft. And then here's one of my favorite parts of the build also, and that is simply just doing the armor stands. I really enjoy doing armor stand work. I'm not the best at it. I want to learn how to do stuff like Zombie Cleo and them do it, where it looks really, really cool and really original, whatever they produce and make. But I'm just not really at that point yet. I'm still kind of learning. But hopefully one day, eventually, I'll get to that kind of level of being able to use armor stands, because I think they're super cool and they're super helpful in creating kind of life within your build. That can be difficult to do in Minecraft in some ways because, well, it's a lot of stationary blocks. But in particular, I think armor stands can work really well as like fill-in areas or extra decor. Luckily on this server, we have a lot of things that Red has made for us, like shelves and things like that look really, really good. But even in just like simple vanilla Minecraft, if you can get the armor stand plugin, that works really well. It can add a lot of detail to a build and a space, and you can make things that you wouldn't be able to make otherwise. Like, for example, this little kind of tiny fish tank that's going to have some nautilus swimming in it. And in vanilla Minecraft, there would not really be a way for me to make this fit in this space, but with armor stands and with these cute little plushies that Red has made for us, I can kind of create this cute little area where I have a little fishbowl in my room, and it looks cute, I think, and I really like it. And it kind of adds just a little bit of life of like, oh, somebody actually lives here. They have pets, like, and I think that adds to kind of the storytelling of the world. And you can see, like, I have a lot of random stuff in shulker boxes. I'm not the most organized person. I gotta go back through and organize everything, but I'm trying to figure out what exactly I want to top this with. And so at first, I start kind of using a sea lantern in an armor stand. The only problem is it doesn't let off any light. And so it kind of looks a little too modern, too edgy kind of. And so I kind of eventually decide that I don't really like that. And I'm just going to put a sea lantern on top or near it instead to kind of light it up and give it a little life to it, because I also felt like it needed something above it. And so you can see it takes me a little bit to figure out how exactly I was having some problems of actually putting the sea lantern in the right spot because the armor stands were there, so I couldn't place the block there. And so you'll see I'm like thinking through this. I'm like, okay, I can just push it with a piston. Everything will be okay, except it just pushed my armor stands out of the aquarium. So then I had to kind of move them all back, but it really wasn't that hard. I just had to unlock them and move them. It's pretty easy. But there was a moment where I was like, you have to be kidding me. That did not work the way I wanted it to. But it kind of let me reposition them a little bit better, and I actually kind of like the way they ended up after this, even more than how I originally liked them. And I think that's an encouraging thing to keep in mind whenever you're building, that sometimes you're going to have to remake things or redo things because you don't like the way they look, or simply because it doesn't end up working quite Minecraft-wise as it should. with block size and things like that. And I think it's important to remember that like you can just restart. You can just break something and redo something again. And that's totally okay. That doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're trying something different, trying something new. And so that was something really encouraging that I think you can learn, or I can learn, or continue to learn as I'm building more on this Minecraft server. Okay, well, I've actually decided instead of doing this room next, because I'm not 100% sold what I want it to be yet, we're going to actually work on the upstairs here. And so this I actually want to be a little storage area. But then I also want it to have a little bit of like, kind of a look of like, I need to move this down one more. Kind of like a crowded attic look to it as well. So I'm looking for both functional and also kind of just crowded and cluttered a little bit as well. And we'll see how that actually develops as we continue to build. I think I'm going to throw in some of these crates. And just like that, I think we are pretty much done. Like I said, it's going to be pretty simple. Just a little crowded is all I was going for. Like a little storage area. I can put some stuff in here. And there's just stuff piled everywhere. Kind of like an attic of kind of vibes is what I was going for. And then finally we get to the closet area. I wasn't sure exactly how I want to do this for a little bit. I was thinking about making it just be like a bathroom. But I actually like the idea of having a closet a little bit more than that. So you can see I'm making a bunch of different types of armor of different varieties and just kind of setting them out here. And I'm going to eventually build a little wardrobe space around them. And so I wanted to make sure I had like all the staples. So gold, iron, leather, and then our brand new copper, because I think it looks really, really good. And you can see I start to build this kind of wardrobe around it. And so I wasn't really sold on the fact that it goes in front of the window, because I thought it might look a little weird. But it looks a little weird from the outside. You can see the armor. But overall, I think it looks really well and works really well for this closet space. Now, all we have left is the basement downstairs. So the first step of doing the basement was actually building it. I didn't really have anything built for the basement yet because I told myself that I could just do it later, and then later arrived and, well, I had to actually do what I told myself I would do. So you can see it starts off kind of by marking off all these little areas where I've kind of built little things that extend into the basement space. And so I'm going to have to figure out how to integrate those into the build. And you'll see how I plan and do that kind of throughout building the basement. You also see I kind of work with the shape of the basement. Right now it's a really weird shape because it's the same shape as the first floor. But I end up just kind of boxing it off so it's more of a rectangular shape because I think I'm going to end up putting my office and maybe a few other secret little surprises in here that I hope you guys will enjoy.
So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually going to take out this layer of moss, and just so I have space to make the office. I don't have my hoe with me. My cat has decided that the perfect place for her to sit is directly on my waypoint key. There we go. So now this is kind of the baseline of what this is going to look like. I need to polish this up a little bit. And just like that, we have finished building our office. And I think honestly, the shape of it's pretty cool. I like it. It's chill. I kind of cut off a lot of like the weird parts and just made it one big box. So I'll probably put like a library area and then an office area as well down here. And this would be, I think, like where I would be running a lot of like the decisions that needed to be made for the kingdom from down here. My like house would be upstairs, and then this down here would be more so like work related things. And so we're going to dive into actually making this office space. And if I put the sand right here to make this like a little aquarium. Okay, and now you can see I've started to go ahead and decorate this portion. I put out a library right up here. I put up a map of our base. I think I like this a lot better than where it was previously. I think I need to put a few more things in. I know I need to add a desk, and then I need to put like a table or something here that I could study at. Something like this, perhaps. It's got 2 on both sides. I like that. I think that's the main thing. And now I think I just need to put... That needs to go away. But I think I just need to put in a few of the small decor blocks and then start putting some of our fish and decor into our aquarium. And just like that, we have finished the interiors of our house. So we walk in right here to the kitchen area, which I'm super happy with. I love the way the sink looks, along with the food and the oven and all that stuff. I really like the way, this is probably my favorite floor. I really like this in the living room with a nice rug. I really, really like this. I think it's super nice. We go upstairs and we have this little hallway area right here. I need to pick all those up. Whoopsies. I might end up putting some more stuff out here, but I'm actually going to hit and do the porches later because I've run out of time to do them this episode. But as you can see, the bedroom looks super nice. I'm really happy with this bedroom. I think it goes pretty well with the vibe. I also like the canopy bed. I think that was a good addition. And then in here we have our closet with all of our different armor sets in here. I'm super happy with how this ended up. And then of course our super cluttered attic up here. I'm not sure what I'm gonna put in these chests yet. I might use this as a storage for some of our things that don't necessarily have to go other places. Like I might put some heads and stuff up here because I have a lot of heads. But that's our top floor. And if we go downstairs here, we get to another part of my favorite part of this build, our little basement office area. So you can see we have nice scrolls and things like that sitting around where we can study and work on things. We also have our desk here with some projects on it. We have our 2 banners. This is the banner for the temple or the cathedral, I guess. And then this is like the flag for Elarris. It took me a while to figure out how to do these, but I really like the way they look. This is supposed to be similar to the logo on the top of the cathedral, and this is supposed to just symbolize like the trees of Elarris. And right here we have a map of our whole entire base, and I really like the way this looks. I think it would be a great way for us to keep track of where our base is and how it's growing. And then finally, what took us quite a while to make, we have our little aquarium right here. You can see some of them. I have a resource pack that makes some of the fish look like seahorses. And I really like the way this looks with the pufferfish and other fish. I don't think I'm going to add any more fish to this, just so it doesn't look too overcrowded. But I'm really happy with everything, honestly, that has went into this build. And so with that, thank you so much for joining me here on the ChurchMag server. It's been a great day of doing a lot of different interior builds, and I'm super happy with how it ended up. I love the way our house is looking. It looks like a place where we can both get our duties for taking care of the kingdom, along with just, a place where we can live. And so I'm really happy with that. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya.